Hello, everyone. This is Shellye Archambeau. I see a few people are joining us here. I'm live on both my YouTube channel and Instagram. Let me just explain what it is I do. Once a month, I set aside time to do and ask me anything. And this is time that I try to provide to address whatever questions or perspectives that you want, comments on, etc. And because I find that many people who ask questions, others have the exact same question. So this is a way to both learn, for me to share, but also for people and everyone to share with each other. So I hope you find some value and feel free to ask your question. So first of all, I give people the opportunity to send me questions in advance. So I have received some questions and I'll address those first. But I also go to my overall screen in terms of comments, chat, etc. So if you have a question or something you want addressed, please go ahead and put it in the chat, whether you're on YouTube or on Insta. All right, let's get started. I hope everybody's having a good day. All right, so first, we often talk about work-life balance. And also, at the same time, we keep saying that we should do what we love to do, even when it comes to work. Now, here I am a little confused because when we do what we love, then we tend to forget time and effort involved, considering the fact that we're totally involved. So that throws me back to the question, how do I ensure that I'm balancing work and life? Because I really don't see my work differently since it interests me. Well, here's the good news. If you're not feeling conflicted with regards to work life and work life integration, then you don't have an issue. So no reason to start looking for one. Typically, people who are struggling with trying to get everything done across their lives, both from a business standpoint and a personal standpoint, they feel they're struggling with the whole work-life issue. My advice always is to integrate your life. And what I mean by that is not have your coworkers over for dinner on Saturday nights so that you can integrate your life and they can meet your kids. That's not what I mean. When I say integrate your life, what I mean is to put your priorities, your personal priorities and your professional priorities together, and then reprioritize ruthlessly so that you can get what you need to get done across your life. Because you're not living two different lives, right? It's one person, one head, all these hats, business, professional, family, community, right? All these hats all fit together. So feel free in terms of to ensure that you just think about prioritizing it all together versus thinking you have to do one and then you do the other. Okay, next. What is your perspective and advice regarding a woman of a certain age in transition and pivoting in her career? Well, first of all, as I tell people all the time, it's never too late to plan and it's never too early to plan. So if you want to pivot, pivot. But the key is to think through where you're trying to go. The questions I always ask myself when I'm setting a new goal or a new target is, what has to be true for me to do this? Now, I typically don't know what has to be true, right? So you have to do the research. So let's say I have no idea where you're going from or to, but let's say you've been in tech and you've decided you really want to get into healthcare, right? Completely different industry. And the first thing you do is to look at people that are doing the roles that you're interested in doing in healthcare. Well, who are they? What were their backgrounds? Do they need special degrees or certifications? Once you understand what kinds of experience and requirements there are, then you understand what needs to be true. Now you ask yourself, how do I make it true for me? And that becomes your plan. So let's say you've been selling software all your life in tech and you've decided you want to become a clinical psychologist, right? Well, and you figure out what has to be true, you find out, well, I actually need a degree. Okay, now you've got to put a plan in place to go get your degree. And then you need to establish your whatever, network into this arena. So look for some organizations to potentially join so you can start to meet people and get to know people and network within this particular area. So once you get your degree, you can figure out and have access and intros into either practices or organizations that you want to actually practice with. That's how you do it. Just be intentional about what you want to do the research to figure out what you need, and then go do it. And by the way, the example I just gave you, a friend of mine in her 50s went from literally working in software to getting her degree so that she can indeed start practicing. And today, she has a practice. So you can absolutely change and pivot whenever you want to pivot, as long as you're willing to do the work to get there. Next, how to get visibility for product work. How do you get how to get visibility for product work when a colleague with an overlapping scope tries to steal the limelight by status updates on channels and sharing timelines. In my firm, a colleague's positive feedback is needed for promotions. How to gain the limelight for myself and my team as a product manager. So what I would tell you is you need to start communicating too. So don't worry about other people, quote, taking credit for your work. As long as you are communicating what you and your team are doing, then the right view will come to you. So how do you do that? Yes, you can do that by providing your own, status updates, but you can also do it informally. And when I say informally, people ask you all the time, how are you? It's just standard greeting, especially in the US, but in other countries as well. You say, oh, hi, so-and-so, how are you? Well, when you answer that question, don't just say I'm good or fine or doing great. Instead, share what you or your team is doing. So when they say, how are you? You can say, actually, I'm doing great. Our team just nailed, right, the timeline for XXX product, and we just did blah, 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 right? Make it quick, not a 5-minute dissertation, but literally a 30, 45-second on why you're feeling good or why you might be stressed. How are you doing? Oh, frankly, we have a big launch date tomorrow. We've just spent the last 3 months doing blah, blah, blah. And tomorrow's the launch date. We've all got our fingers crossed. It should go well, but you know how that goes, right? So you share what people are doing. And when you do that, then people start to understand what you're doing, what your team's doing, and then you can start getting some recognition, some credit. The other way to do it is to shine the light on your team members. Every opportunity you have, right, with others, you want to talk about so-and-so. So if you're with one of your team members, someone on your team, and you run into somebody else, right? People say, hey, how are you? You have small talk, whatever. You should say, you know what? I've got to just tell you, because she won't tell you, but, Shauna just blah, 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 right? So come up with informal ways to communicate. And if you're doing that frequently, then people will start to get it, and you will get that visibility you talked about. The other thing you can do is to shine the light on coworkers. You said you need coworkers to indeed talk positive about you to get promoted. Well, forget the one you're having an issue with. You've got other people you're working with. When you have the opportunity, compliment them and what they're doing. Offer to help them, right? Offer to do things so that people see you in a positive light. So those are all some suggestions. Okay, next. I see one just came in through chat. Hi, Shellye. I'm attending... okay, here we go. I'm attending on the recommendation of Peter Campbell. All right, thanks, Peter. The question is, in the current job environment, what job search pointers do you have for a person looking for a VP level role? Whenever you're looking for a new role, first thing is tell everybody that you're looking for a new role. But don't just say, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm looking for a role as a VP of whatever, accounting, right? Because, okay, what you want to do is to say, hi, I'm looking for a VP of accounting role. My strengths are ba, ba, ba. Only have 3. Have 3. And why 3? People remember 3. They won't remember a lot. And therefore, if they hear about roles, they'll think of you. So tell everyone. You never know what networks other people circle in. So as you're chatting with people, you're having conversations, use I call it the oh, by the way, which is once you finish up your conversation, you say, oh, by the way. And that way you can completely change the topic. Oh, by the way, just want you to know that I'm actually looking for a role in the VP of accounting arena. My strengths are such and such and such and such, looking for X type of company. If you hear of anything, really would appreciate if you think about me. Right? So that's one of the big things you can do. Second, go to where people are that hire your kind of role. So if you're into finance, for instance, so join a financial organization. There's all kinds of professional organizations. There are professional organizations for different roles, for different industries. Even within industries, there are different groups that can be regional, that can be gender-based, they can be ethnic-based. space, right? There's all kinds of different groups. So get involved so that people then get to know you and you get a chance to expand your overall network. If you're looking for a VP role and it happens to be in maybe an area that's pretty hot, let's say you have a lot of experience on digital or AI or things like that, well, raise your profile, start writing about it. You can publish articles or publish summaries of articles on things like LinkedIn, on Medium, right? Different platforms. Again, it'll bring visibility and people will get to know you. So those are just some of the few things that you can do. All right, next. What steps can you take when you're starting a job virtually to ensure success? That's a good one because a lot of people are working virtually now. Here's the key. Just because you're virtual, don't act like you are. And what I mean by that is take the opportunity to actually reach out to people. Reach out to people, whether it's by phone or by email, by text, something. To have the conversations, right? The informal activities that you would have if you were actually in an office. So don't do these just to say, hey, just calling to say hi and really have nothing to offer because then people will think you're kind of bothering them. So instead, every time you get ready to drop an email on something, think, hey, can I just place a call? And even if when you call they don't answer, leave the voicemail, right? And then drop an email and say, hey, tried to reach you to talk about such and such, right? Blah, 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 blah. And perhaps they will call you back. But what you want is you want to be able to establish some relationships beyond just people reading words that you send via Slack or email or whatever it happens to be. So periodically pick up the phone. The other is, if you're doing a Zoom meeting, things like that, be one of the first to join. When you're one of the first to join, you have a chance to do small talk with the people as they join. So you can be the one that says, oh, hey, George, happy to see you. Or, hey, Kamal, right? What have you been up to lately, right? As we wait for others to join. So what you're trying to do is to build relationships, get people to know who you are, even though, right, you're remote. And you can always schedule times, especially when you're new. You can ask people for 10 minutes, right? Hey, I'm new. I would love it if we could just schedule a quick 10-minute call because I'd like to get a perspective on whatever it is, your team, this group, your project, right, etc. And being new, many people will take the time to do that and to welcome you on board. And all of those things give you the ability to build some relationships because that's really what's key. All right. Feel free to add any questions into the chat. And I'm actually going to check for just a minute. Hold on. I got to lift up my camera, or move it actually, to see if I have anything on my Instagram feed. And here we go. How do you reinforce and strengthen your mindset when the going gets tough? All right. Sorry to have to bend down my camera here. So when the going gets tough, well, first of all, life is hard. Life is hard. It's hard for everybody. So just because it gets hard and gets tough doesn't mean you're not cut out for it. What it means is you just need more help. So what do I do when timing gets tough? First, I call on my cheerleaders. I mean, my cheerleaders are these are the people around me that can build me up, that can motivate me, that can encourage me. I can call and say, man, I'm dealing with whatever it happens to be, right? And then these are the people that will remind you, hey, Shellye, you can do this, right? Look, you've done this and you've done this in the past, right? I believe in you. First of all, talk to your cheerleaders. Second, oh, by the way, I'm a cheerleader? Anoint somebody. Literally. Someone who would be encouraging and supportive. Just tell them, hey, Shellye said I need a cheerleader and you're it, okay? Because we all need cheerleaders in our lives because life is hard. Second, ask for help. Asking for help is a strength. It's not a weakness. All right? Did you hear that? It's a strength. It is not a weakness. So when things are hard, don't give up. Don't stop. Just go get more help. It's just like trying to move something. You wouldn't go pick up a couch by yourself and move it because you can't possibly do that, right? But the couch needs moving. So you go ask somebody for help to move the couch. Well, guess what? Whatever the issue is you're facing at work or personally or whatever it might be, same thing. You can't handle it by yourself. That's why you're struggling. So go get some help. Find some people who've either done it before and ask for their advice, or find people who have the skill sets you need or areas that you might be lacking, or someone who can just give you a different perspective. on way to address it or help. But I will tell you, one of the keys to my success is I've asked for help all along the way. So ask for help. And by the way, don't be just a taker. If you're asking people for help, make sure you are also taking the opportunity as you build your career to offer your help to others. Because as I said, everyone needs help because life is hard. Okay, let me check the next one. Any other here? Just finished your book, love everything about it. Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad it was life-changing. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm just scrolling here real quick. Okay, I don't see anything else on Insta, so I am going to go back to my list that I got. All right. Let's see. What guidance do you have for an ambitious person starting a new job in a fast-growing industry? Well, first, congratulations. Industries that are growing fast, because companies that are growing fast, and companies that are growing fast, I find, never have enough resources. So there's always opportunities, if you're good at what you do, to take on more and more responsibility. So first thing, you start a new job. Take the time, have the conversation with your boss, your supervisor, to understand what success looks like. Now, you might be saying, well, what are you talking about, what success looks like? Well, what I find is that success is not just doing what your job description says, right? It's not. Success at the end of the period, 6 months, a year, whatever your normal review cycle is, it's typically a lot more than that. And most bosses know success when they see it. So don't make it a surprise. Ask right in the beginning. I'm here, I've just started a new role, I am whatever, let's say you're leading business development for a unit, right? Have the conversation to say, okay, I understand that you want more business partners and you want to increase revenue through our channels, right? And you want high satisfaction with our business partners. Let's say that's what you know, because that's the objective. But then say to your boss, so I have those three, but help me understand what success looks like. So let's say I do all those three things. What are you looking for overall, right? What are those areas that you're going to be judging me on? Because then they'll start to tell you, well, things like teamwork, right? Things like you'll learn more about the culture and more about the business and what's important when you really push on what does success look like. So now you'll have a better view for how to truly be successful. And then second, make sure you are building relationships. This is when you first join, I talked about it earlier, you have basically a free opportunity to ask just about anybody to take a few minutes and explain what they do, right? Talk about their team, etc., because you're new. Take advantage of it. The faster you learn, the better, and the more apt you'll be successful, because you'll learn more about how business works, what the culture is, right? All those things. Okay, next. Okay. Oh, thank you. I just got another note. Your book was fantastic. Thank you very much. Unapologetically Ambitious, for those that don't know. And thank you for taking the time to speak at Women Warrior Summit. Yes, I did that this weekend in West Virginia. Okay, next question. Are you a perfectionist? If so, how do you keep yourself from aiming for perfection so that you're able to give yourself grace? This is a great question. And I have to tell you a story, because I learned the hard way the challenge of being a perfectionist. So I was with IBM. This is fairly early in my career. I was with IBM about 3 or 4 years, and I just moved from one location to another. So now I have a new branch office, a new set of customers. I'm now a more senior, right, sales rep, and my customer is a Fortune 500 retailer. Okay, have meetings. I uncover an opportunity. Now, I want to really do a good job of putting together a proposal, because this is my first impression I'm making, so this has got to be really good. So I spent a lot of time and effort on this proposal. I really dotted I's, crossed T's, right? I even had a whole cost justification built in, had everything. I had my peer review it, give me some input, right? Share it with my boss before I actually took it to the customer. Finally get it done. It probably took me, call it 10 days, 2 weeks. Make the appointment to go see the customer, go to the customer, deliver my proposal. He loves it, right? Says, Shellye, this is great. And the cost justification, this is just perfect. I just wish I'd received this 4 days ago, because 4 days ago, I got a budget cut. So now I can't move forward with the project. Woo! Woo! What? 4 days? days? I missed it by 4 days? Well, you know what? Those 4 days were spent dotting I's, crossing T's, and making it perfect. So what I've learned then is 80% good and fast beats 100% perfect and slow every time. So how do you give yourself grace? You give yourself grace by remembering that. 80% fast beats 100% perfect and slow. Because what I've learned is 80% fast and good, you can deliver it, and if things need to be changed or altered or adjusted, fine, you go and do it, and then come back again. But don't wait until it's perfect, because things can change, and then you miss the opportunity itself. So that's how to give yourself grace. All right, next one. Had a meeting with my boss to talk about my progress in the company, title, salary, the actual work and responsibilities, etc. Told me there's lots of room for movement, which is great. But how do I hold my boss accountable? So now I've had the conversation, but how do I make sure that he actually gives me opportunities? Great question. So when you're having a conversation with someone and you're sharing with them what you aspire to, right, and how you're doing, first of all, always start those conversations by getting feedback on how you're doing. All right? Because if they start by telling you that maybe you're actually not doing as well as you think you are, then you probably want to wait to have a conversation about advancement. But if they tell you you're doing a good job, pleased with what we're seeing, wonderful. Then you take the next step and say, great, well, right now I'm a director of blah, blah, blah. I aspire to be a vice president of da, 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 right? First thing you ask is, do you think I have the potential to do that? And the reason you say potential and ask it that way is because it's very rare. Matter of fact, I've never had it happen where someone says, no, you don't have potential. Because they wouldn't have hired you in the company if they didn't think you had potential. And there's no commitment on their part. Just because you have potential doesn't mean they're committing to anything. So it's an easy yes. So when they say yes, you say, great. What advice do you have for me about, and then make it specific, what other additional skills I should build, what experiences you think I should garner in order to be able to compete for that role, right? Whatever it might be, ask for advice. Why do you do that? Because once you ask for advice, they're compelled to give you some advice because they told you had potential. When you get the advice, take it, right? But also write it down and make sure they see you write it down. Because now you can come back later and say, I told us about my aspirations. You told me I needed to do blah, blah, blah. I've done that. Here's the overall impact or what have you, right? I'd love to talk about what you think I need to do next and what kind of timing might be possible, right? So now what you do is you try to make it specific. Don't leave those conversations broad and big and loose because you're right. You can't keep anybody accountable to that. But you can if you start making it specific. So hopefully that helps. Okay, let me check again to see if I have anything. I just made a pivot in my career earlier this year and later found out my husband and I are expecting. Congratulations. How do I keep momentum post-maternity leave? I'm nervous I'll fall behind, and I just started. So I've been in your shoes. I remember that job I just talked about where I worked really hard on that presentation, what have you? Okay. Between the time I took the job and arrived at the job, I was pregnant. So I started that job pregnant and knew that I would have to, therefore, take maternity leave. So a couple things. One, as long as your head is in the game and you plan to come back, right, it's okay. Keeping momentum is, all right, keep your head in the game, do what you need to do for that overall job. But secondly, as you get ready to take maternity leave, right, make sure you let people know that you plan to come back. This is the job. Make sure you set people up who are backing you up. You set them up well. And then while you're on maternity leave, no, you don't want to work, but you want to periodically just reach out, check in, let them know, hey, I'm still here. I'm still interested. And when you're reading bedtime stories, right, to your little one, because it's always good whether they can understand it or not, to hear your voice. They don't know what you're reading. Read what's happening in the industry. Just read it out loud. You can say everything from, tell stories to Hansel and Gretel, right? Or you can tell the story or read an Dr. Seuss book. Or you can read content that's important to you. Just read it in a nice little voice. artificial intelligence is something that is really expanding right now. Blah, 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 right? Just do it in a way in which they're hearing your voice. It doesn't matter what you're actually saying. So there are things that you can do, even in the limited time you have, to still try to keep yourself on top of what's happening. All right. Hope that helps. All right. Those are the questions that I actually received in advance. Let me just do a quick check to see if there's anything else that's come through. And no, I think I got everything that was in the chat. So I want to say thank you very much, everyone. I really, really appreciate the fact that you joined. There we go. Yep, I'm just making sure. I appreciate the fact that you joined this session and join me each month. I post on LinkedIn and Insta when it's going to be, but I do it Ask Me Anything on Mondays once a month. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. And if you haven't yet, check out Unapologetically Ambitious, Take Risks, Break Barriers, and Create Success on Your Own Terms, which is the book I wrote to try to help more people learn the tools and the techniques to be able to improve your odds to get what you want out of life. Thanks very much, everybody. Bye.